So, welcome to today's episode. We have got Christina Michelle here from I Am the Aligned Soul. That is where you can find her on Instagram. She is a spiritual business coach and a psychic channel if we want to put her into a kind of a description here. But of course, we can't describe you. So, welcome, Christina. Welcome to the show. I'm so grateful to have you here.
Oh my goodness, thank you for having me. I am so excited about this conversation. I have been waiting for it.
So have I. And it's really funny because I just said, Christina, we've got to push play. We've got to push record because, we've got some stuff to say. We've got some stuff to say about human design. We've got stuff to say about money, about psychic, about putting people into boxes. We've got a lot to say. So to begin, I'd just love to ask you, Christina, like, what do you do? Like, in a nutshell, like, if we could put this into a definition, into some words, what is it that you do for people?
All right. I love to I'm called the vibration shifter and the energy lifter. So like when you're in my space, first of all, your vibration is shifting and your energy is lifting. That's just what happens when you're around me. But if we're technically talking about what I do, I love to say that I help bad and bougie quantum queens create a life of fame, fortune, and fulfillment all while I'm watching The Bachelor. If you And that's just because I love to infuse human things, like things that are in our daily life, to make sense of like really esoteric quantum things. And I'm a former corporate executive. And when I started I'm 48 at the time of this recording. So I've been around for a while. And when I first came in the corporate world, I always utilized my spirituality in combination with the things that I used to do. So I always called it the woo and the do. And that's what helped me to become very, very successful in my career at Deloitte, at Victoria's Secret, at Coca-Cola. And so I bring that into my business now. I'm a best-selling author and I have a brand that's called The Aligned Soul. And that is what we focus on, the woo and the do.
You know what? This is such a turn on for me because as a Virgo, as a projector, as a, self-made woman, I was born like into a very humble family. So I'm like, okay, I've taken the reins. I'm like, let's go. Um, I'm all about the do. And I'm all about the woo as a psychic medium. I just said to you, oh my goodness, we do exactly the same things, but obviously in different ways. And one of the things, and I really want to bring this up first, if you don't mind, Christina, is because holy moly, I get so frustrated. I get so like, oh, bitter because as a projector, I get kind of bitter when people are always going from indoctrination to indoctrination
Oh,
to indoctrinate, like from system to system. And we were talking about this. I said, "What is your human design?" And you're like, "Well, I did this. You're one of the OGs, like learning the human design process before it went viral, and you know, started trending." And this is no offense to anyone who does human design or anything, but I don't go too deep into any system because I see people boxing themselves. It's kind of like going from one thing to another, but not actually breaking any patterns. So, can you tell us a little bit about that? Because I use human design in my business. I've never really resonated with like the whole personality profiling too much because there's so many variables in there. And I also notice in my own relationships, people boxing me into who they thought that I was when they first met me, but I am seasonal, right? So, for instance, I'm in the disc, I'm a 75% dominant and like a 15% S, which is the mother archetype. And I'm like, but sometimes of the month I am all soft and gooey and soft, and here that I'm being portrayed as this hard bitch who's really dominant, who's really direct, and it just doesn't kind of land. So could you give us a little bit about your genius on what that is?
yes. No, I love that. So I was a part of like the renaissance of human design when before everybody started using it. So like 2018, 2019, I was like, oh my goodness, this must be an answer. Ah, right. And so I dove head in, right? And so when you enter in my date of birth and all of those things, it would spit out that I was a 4-6 generator, open, totally open, emotional center, open head, and then, like a couple of the defined channels, whatever. And I use this in my business. I taught people how to use human design in their business. I taught them what to do by type. I mean, I had 8,900 people take one course that was about create your aligned business by design. And then I had about it's probably 6,000, maybe 7,000 people that took my manifesting human design course. Like this is before anybody was doing that. And I got to a point where I was about to do a certification, and at God, universe, source, I love to call it sugar daddy, came through me and was like, no. And so everything blew up in my life, like everything. And I was like, oh, I feel like I'm being called to do my own thing. I feel like I'm being called to like trust my own heart. And what always used to make me go, ugh, every time is like, if you listen to human design, for example, I'm a generator. I'm supposed to listen to and respond to things outside of me. And I'm like, that doesn't make any fucking sense. I'm a psychic channel. I am a psychic channel. Like I am supposed to listen to God within me and all around me. I like to call it my inner God voice, which is speaking to me, and I'm hearing things and I'm moving things. And if I'm always worried about something external, physical, that's supposed to tell me what to do, I am missing my move. Like I am missing the mark, and I'm not going to be able to speak to my clients the way that I speak to their souls because I'm waiting for something external to tell me what to do. I was like, forget that. And then I started to notice a lot of my clients, especially my projector clients, well, I'm supposed to only work 2 hours a day or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, I totally get that, but you can listen to your own body without needing some other person in a book to tell you to rest. Like you can listen to your own body and feel when you're excited and feel when you need to move. Because to me, that's what the purpose of human design was to get you to listen to your own body and to listen to, how, like really get you out of your head and listening to that. And if we take that from it instead of all the other indoctrinations and all those other complications and all those other things, and just really bring you back to listening to your body, do you need to have the box that tells you you're this type, you're do this, and you're supposed to only do this? Like, no, it's
Mm-hmm.
another thing, another Bible, another thing telling you what you can and cannot do when you could listen to your soul.
1,000%. And like I said to you before, like I use HD as a tool and I think it's phenomenal. And um, I really do, but I also think my Catholic upbringing was phenomenal. And, there's, I've had a love-hate relationship with that, but the sacredness of coming to ritual, of communion, of being on our knees and surrendering, like I bring all of this stuff into the ritualistic stuff and the communion and community to my work. And of course the Mother Mary, because I'm pretty sure Mother Mary is Catholicism is like the only religion that actually kind of acknowledges her. So the feminine as well, the divine feminine. And quite often I'll introduce my clients to HD pretty much straight away, right? I'm like, okay, there's a few things we need to look at right here. So pull up their chart, have a look at it. Many of my clients have become HD experts. Now, I've done the courses and stuff, but I know that I'm not meant to be. It's not my niche. It's not me. I'm not an HD guru. I'm a all things person, psychic channel, which means all things channel. And it comes to a point with my clients sometimes and they go, well, it's because I'm a projector. It's because it's a managing, because I'm a two line. And I go, hey, I don't want to hear any more human design out of your mouth because now it's becoming the excuse. Just like I
Yes.
don't have the money or da da da, or I don't have the time. You do have the time, you do have the money because you can go create it because it's something that we're always creating and moving with. But it's really interesting when I get the mani-gens that go, oh, and they're like flicking around and changing their mind 24/7. And but I also, one of my best friends is a 3/5 mani-gen, and she's got the most stickability of anyone I know because she sees something and she follows way through, but she's juggling 5 different things, but she has got stickability where some mani-gens, for instance, will just be like, I'm a mani-gen, so I can't stick to anything. It's like I get I get what Ra was doing 1,000%, and I love it. But at the same time, putting people into boxes, I think we need to understand this is the person and this is who they are, and this is everyone has conditioning anyway. But yeah, I'm a projector, but I can have a 16-hour day
Yeah.
and then I can have 3 days off. It doesn't satisfy me to work a 9 till 5. I wake up and I'm like, today is a day and I'm going to make this huge, depending on how I feel. And I do believe human design is just the signposts, just like Eckhart Tolle says. It's like signposts
Yeah.
of, hey, does this resonate with you? Go with it. If it doesn't, leave it. Because, like you said, you're a generator. And I've been doing HD for like about 5 years. And like, I think it's really interesting because we think about a generator and we're like, step by step by step by step. And you're like, fuck it, I'm going to change my day around so we can like talk for longer. Like it's like I'm a manifestor, like I'm a human being. One thing I do find though is that the different auras and like the different energy types is there is some truth to that. I 1,000% see how people will meet me, and this might be the rhythms and cycles that that we've been talking about as well, is people will meet me at a certain part of my cycle, meaning like I'm in a motherfucking summer. Hey, how's it going? Let's go. And I've got energy, right? And then after maybe even like 3 months, it's like this honeymoon period of time. And it can be with clients, it can be for me, it's like a friendship thing. People come in my life and I'm like, woo! And I match their energies because I'm so open as a psychic and I'm an empath, empaths are feeling other people. And
Right.
I'm like, right, I'm up to their vibration. I'm like, this is so amazing. And then about 2 or 3 months later, I'm like, oh, I need to go back down into my ocean. I need to go back down and I need to be with my husband and my children. And I need to come in. It's nearly like I go from my summer and then I go into my autumn and I can feel it happening. I'm like, oh no. And then I go into my winter and I'm cozied up and I'm like, yes, I want to be with me and my family and I don't want to be this external being. And then people get all fucking weird on me.
Uh,
Literally, they're like, oh, you've changed. This energy is not right. And I'm like, no, I haven't. This is just another part of me. So, is this something that you help people through as well? Because I mean, I could say it's because I'm a projector and I have said that, but
I
isn't
think
it
it's
just
different
being human with
seasons.
different seasons?
It's just seasons. It's just human. And it's so funny that you said that because I have some clients. One is a generator and another is a projector, and they both do the exact same thing. They love their home time alone. They love their cozy time, but they also have times where they love to be with friends and they love to be out. I feel like it's just in the nature of being a woman, definitely. We have our times where you want to be like, ta-da. And then you also have your times where you want to chill, like I have my times like I love to nap. I love spaciousness in my calendar. I only do calls 2 days a week and maybe one or two a day. And that's every other week. I like weeks without calls. You know what I mean? I don't work continuously. I love spaciousness in my day. And that doesn't make me not like, oh, she's a generator. She's supposed to work all day and do all these things. No. And my
Like a
sister,
robot, like a soldier. The
right. I'm
world is
like,
made of these soldiers, of these generators. It's like,
what are you
what?
talking about? Like, I'm not here to build your pyramids. And also, I think about my sister. My sister is a manifesting generator. Like, if you look at her time, and they're supposed to be faster. My sister's like, you can run 7 circles around me. And I was like, exactly. And so I saw just so many ways that, especially doing thousands of clients, I saw so many ways that it was inconsistent. And even if you want to say, oh, they're deconditioning or they're doing all these things, I was like, no, there's so many ways that this doesn't apply. And it's because you can't just say, oh, just because you have this birth date and just because you have this time, this is who you are. It's not even allowing for people to really change and become who they are meant to be. And so I just felt it was so limiting. And that's when and God bless all of the human design. Everything's a tool because I have clients that still do human design and they
Oh,
love to work
1,000%.
with me. So I have
Yeah.
tons of clients, like one, she does human design and her copy and all of the things. And I'm like, okay, let's go. Here you want to do. This is what you get to show up as. I'm not saying that people shouldn't do it. It's just I walked away from it because I did feel like I did not want to put my clients in one single box. And that's what my
Yeah.
my strength was, that people could come and be like, I want to do this. I want to make $1 million. I want to do this. I want to you create this. And I'm like, let's go. And
Mm,
what I had started to do was like, well, let me see your chart and then let me do this. No, I
mm,
just come into my space. Let me feel you. Let me look at your energy. Tell me what you
yeah.
want to do and let's go create it. point
Mhm.
blank period. I don't need anyone else to tell me like your type and stuff. Let's go. So that's what, but it's after years of doing that. And like I said, thousands of people through the containers. And it was a big shift because I was
Mhm.
known as like the human design person. So
Yeah.
to have that many people go through my containers, it was a lot of money that I left on the table, a lot of money.
Mm.
But I decided that I knew that I was meant for a lot more and I didn't need someone else's modality to lead me into that direction. I got to really create that from my psychic channel, from what my inner God voice was telling me to do. And so it was scary,
Mm.
but I did it.
And I do feel like there is for everybody at whatever space they are with their spiritual awakening. Like my whole brand is Awaken with Victoria Bond, and some people I'm like working with their human design because they need a system. Some people, just like, my husband, he's he's a very conscious being actually. And I feel like I've been catching up to him for the last 25 years, because he's just we got together 16, 17. I was religious and he was just really open. Like, like he was like, I don't really believe in all that stuff. I'm like, how do you not? And that's because I was brought up in a system, and I got out of that system, and then I fell into another system. I actually fell into access consciousness, which is, let's not
I
go
know.
there.
I
But
know exactly
there
what
was
you're
a
talking about.
system, and I taught consciousness classes in New Zealand and Australia, and
Did you do
then
bars?
I, pardon me,
Did you do
yeah,
bars?
bars, yeah, and
I
then
used
as soon
to
as I kind of went
do
went
bars.
up that, like, noticing what that pyramid was. Not that I'm against any pyramids or MLMs or anything like that. I think everything has its place and it's whatever lights the fuck you up, right?
Mhm.
But it's really interesting when I noticed the very top level of what was happening there. I was like, holy shit. And this ain't what I'm choosing. But right down at the beginning of things, like the beginning of HD, the beginning of religion, like the beginning of any type of system, is literally a heart space of communion, of community, of getting together. And my husband always said to me, like, some people need religion. Religion has been a thing that has kept our planet going, because otherwise human beings are crazy, right? If you just let the whole world do whatever the fuck it wants, like, you know, Vikings days, like everyone just kills. Oh, you looked at my wife the wrong way, slaughter, cut. Like, we're animals, like we need containing. But then that has been in these older paradigms. And now what we're doing, like what you went through was perfect and divine, and everyone, those thousands of people that went through your processes, there's nothing wrong with that. And same with people that did all my classes and became facilitators of bars and whatnot. Like, I still use those tools, because the question, what else is possible? It's a kind of universal question. It ain't like it doesn't belong to any system. It's like questions are the way to connect in with the universe and with our subconscious, etc.,
Yes.
etc. So I don't think there's anything wrong. I just believe it's where people are at. And some people go, I need a tool, I need a system. And you're like, here's one that's probably better than the last one that you outgrew. And then what I do is I bring people to a space where I'm like, now you can drop it all. A system to get out of the system. And so when I start saying I'm a projector, and I every now and then I'll have to explain myself, like, we are different. I'm like a bird and you're like a freaking elephant, but all humans are different. And I think it comes down to we need respect for the rhythms and the cycles of other people with no
Yes.
judgment. So,
Acceptance and no judgment. That's what it requires.
and also choice. Like,
Yes.
do I want to be your friend? Was this a season, a reason, or a lifetime? And I think people attach so deeply onto their businesses. You were saying before, you had this huge Instagram and that disappeared. So then you're starting something new. Like, you're going with the flow of everything. And people, when they come to me for business, I don't know about you, but when people come to me, they're like, they want perfection before they start. And I'm like, that perfection's going to be outdated. I was looking at my photo shoots and I've just had a new one. And the one from 2 years ago, I'm like, wow, that was so hot at the time, but now it's outdated. Like, it's like we outdate. So we've got to keep evolving and growing and shifting and using the system that works at the time. Someone said to me the other day, how do you feel about your kids being in school, in the school system? And I said, well, sweetheart, over the pandemic, I took them out of school and I tried the homeschooling. didn't work because me and my husband are so focused on our business. These poor little kids were having to homeschool themselves, and it was a shit show. Like basically they had 6 months off school. And so I've put them into a system because it's the best system for now. Because I'm a shit stay at home, like homeschool parent. It's not going to work for me. My focus is on my business. And I want to be a loving mother that cooks food and gives them cuddles at night, right? And does homework from time to time, which is even a stretch. So it's like the system they're in, I know they're in a system, and that's okay. I'm not going to make it wrong, but I'm going to tell them what I know to be true, which is you choose you, baby girl. You choose you, baby boy. You can do whatever you want and don't believe everything you hear. Believe you. So I don't tell them you're a mini gen, you're a this, you're a this, you're a this. I don't do that. I have the awareness of the human design, but what they need to know is you can be you. What feels good for you? How do you read energy? So yeah, it's just everyone's psychic, right? And
Yes.
maybe that's what we need to do is make this whole system about, and that's what I do with Magnificent Mediumship, and I'm sure you've got this is what you do as well, is let's go into the psychic abilities, which isn't a system, it's just a way of being.
It's just a way of being. I want to reiterate, I love what you said about school. So you put them in school because you're like, that's what works for me. But what's most important is the school of your home. So that's what they're going to really take away. Yes, they're in school, but they're going to spend more time, with you, especially during the summer and then at night. And so when I think about, like, I went to public school, and I have friends that went to private school and things like that, but I took away, like, private school and public school didn't teach me how to be a human. It didn't teach me to be who I was. You know who taught that to me? My mother and my father. And the way they raised me is how I showed up at school and how I showed up after school, and so that's what's most important. Systems have places. So there's nothing wrong with human design. Again, it just was my time to move forward, and people still are still taking that course and still like looking at it and asking me about it because they loved it. That was meant for the season, right? Now it was time for me to move on, but I don't like say you shouldn't listen to human design and you shouldn't do this. That's why all the people come to me, because I'm like, oh, well, you're in human design, let's go. I used to do that too. What, who are you talking to? What do you want to do? Let's go. But it's not
Mm.
like, it's not up to me to tell people you're doing the wrong thing. And this is, no, it's about acceptance, and it's about me not judging and being open to everyone that comes into my space, and then deciding allowing myself as a psychic channel to tune into what is going to be exactly what they need to hear and what they need to do, and not having any of my own projections or any of my own experiences or judgments to cloud that. And that's why it's so powerful to work with psychic channels who also know business and know, and emotional intelligence, and know all of these things that we bring into our businesses, because we're not clouding our own thoughts or what we think should happen. When we're talking to our clients, we're telling them from a clear channel what we can hear, read, sense, and what their next steps get to be, because it's in alignment with what they are meant to do, based on what they communicated. So I love that. I love that.
Yeah, and yesterday I was in my Amplify Mastermind, which is my spiritual business mastermind, and I gave everyone homework. And I didn't know how, and I'm sure you're exactly the same. It's like, well, how do I how do I coach all these people that are at different levels of business in a mastermind, right? So I did my big hour kind of riff on whatever, and then I literally went through every single person and gave them homework, and it had nothing to do with their personality, it had nothing to do with their aura, it had nothing to do. I looked energetically and I was like, you need to go in and figure out A, B, and C. You need to come out and do A, B, and C. You need to, that's it. You're going to go live every single day and you're going to work on getting rejected. And people were just like, whoa, because it's like my intuition, I wasn't getting out a textbook on, well, you're this and you need to work like this and you're at this stage of your business. And you know what that really brings me to as well, like what I kind of want to ask this question as we round this off is money and
Yes.
spirituality. Like, can we, for a second, because this is the other thing that really gets my goat. It's like, can you please tell me if this happens to you, right? I have people that the minute I say money, like I even had my best friend, right? She said to me, Vic, people are kind of talking about the whole money and psychic mediumship. And I said, what do you mean? Because we were having brunch. I'm like, what do you mean? I was like, here we go. And she said, well, there's some people saying like that you really shouldn't be charging for your mediumship gifts like you are. And I said, interesting. And then she was satisfied when I told her that I charge more for business. So she said, oh, so you make your money from business and then your spirituality stuff. And I was like, wow, people just don't get it, right? And this was coming from someone who there's not a lot of money in their family, their whole family kind of unit, from the mother and the daughter and her and blah, blah, blah. So I like to stand up for psychic mediumship coaches and say, you and anyone listening to this podcast, you're allowed to be rich and wealthy and psychic. And I want to hear from you, Christina, but I feel like people are making excuses for not receiving money by making an excuse for not charging. And this is the biggest thing I find with my spiritual business coaching is people they go, sales are yucky. I don't want to do it. And I'm like, I'm sorry, but you can look after your fucking human. I'm not going to do this work for God unless I'm okay. Otherwise, I'm going to go get a job as a hairdresser, right? So, what do you say about that?
Well, one of the things I always love, what my dad is and my mom are visiting, because my sister had a surgical procedure, and every time he's like, oh, I talk to people and I told them what you do. And I said, Dad, what did you tell them I do? I told them you were like Joel Osteen. And he's like, for him, that's like amazing that he thinks I'm like, I talk about this spiritual stuff. And then I also can make a lot of money. He's like, yes. Because my parents were always like, when I was brought up Christian, but the Christianity that my parents were a part of, it was more like Joel Osteen types. It was more, what was it, Frederick Price, and it was all about like I get to be rich too. Money gets to come into me, and if I don't have the money, who does? And so that's the way we were brought up. And so my parents were the wealthiest in their families. They grew up in the projects. Actually, in the projects in New Orleans is a very poor area. Both of my parents, and both of them ended up being the wealthiest people in their families, and they are the ones that everybody wants to like borrow money from and all of that. But that's because they decided that they got to have money and that it was a blessing and it was an honor, because they were like, Jesus was rich. He took care of 12 people. So that's kind of how they taught us when we were younger. So whenever I hear anybody saying that, oh, I'm spiritual, I'm not supposed to have money, my first thing is like, Jesus was rich. He took care of 12 people. Like, what are you talking about? And then I'm like, you are buying into the Roman Catholic you need to be poor kind of narrative that was there in the ages, the peasants, like you couldn't have anything because that was, but give us all your money, right? Give the nobles all your money and you can't have anything. And I'm like, why are you buying into whose voice is that? That's not even yours. You are, if anyone is meant to have money, it's someone who is a psychic channel, someone who's moving from love, someone who's doing things from their heart, someone who's ready to, help change the world and open up consciousness. Like that's the person who gets to have the money. And so that's why I like to say you get to, have more money than Bezos. Like that's the women, the people that I want to come into my world. I want them to own that because we were meant to do that. If you want to have these big missions and you want to change the world, then you need to have money to do that. That is going to help to pay for those missions. That's going to help to, money's job is to expand to support your desires. And instead of vilifying money or saying that I'm not supposed to charge for my gifts, like, well, what gifts do you have? What did you go to college for? Okay, don't receive money for what you do. Like just because I'm using something that is a gift, that's a spiritual gift, that's a gift that I have that you may not be able to access, but you do have that gift too. Just because you don't have the wherewithal to decide that you get to be paid. One of my favorite affirmations, Amanda Francis used to say it all the time. She was like, my gifts are high, like my gifts, my service. Like, yeah, my work is of high service and deserves to be compensated for. So I always used to say my gifts are of high service and I receive massive compensation for it because that is what is necessary in order to get this message out to millions and millions of people. And so anyone that is struggling with that and thinking that you shouldn't be paid for your gifts, who should be? If not you, who? Oh, so we should allow people, oh, because it's business. Oh, you can pay for that? No, like people wouldn't be doing good in their business if it wasn't for the work that I'm doing. So guess what? I deserve to be compensated for it. And so you get to decide. Money gets to come to me. It gets to flow to me. It gets to be in my life. It gets to multiply. It gets to be bigger than I could ever imagine. And it doesn't matter if I'm using my spiritual tools or my spiritual gifts. It doesn't matter if I'm doing service-based things. It doesn't matter if I'm creating luxury products. I get to have money regardless, and stop associating money with what you do and just saying it gets to come in my life regardless, because it's meant to supply me with my desires. And that's it. It doesn't matter even what you do. You get to have money.
And that's it.
You know?
And that's it. Like people say to me, how are you making, like my husband's like, yeah, we're bringing in like 30,000 like cash every month now. And I'm like, really? Like I'm doing less. And I'm like, today I've got nothing even booked in, like it's kind of like, holy shit. And he's like, yeah, and it was a 40K cash month. And oh my God, you did 80K cash here. And then I'm like going, oh my God, my one-to-ones, like I'm pretty much empty. I've got like 2 people on one-to-ones and they're not needy or anything. They just really, they want to keep working with me, a longevity. And then I'm like, I do these programs, I'm working for fun now.
Yeah.
Now, of course, the money needs to keep coming in. I've got 2 children. I've got a mortgage. My husband works for us full time in this business. Like he was an electrician. I was a hairdresser. And I just want to say this, because I think it's going to get to people. So what people are saying when they're saying you shouldn't really be getting paid for your spiritual gifts, and I've had people go through Magnificent Mediumship, my program, and then block me and say no one should be getting paid for their spiritual gifts. And I'm like, okay, well that's fine for you if you live alone and you've got no children and you're on a benefit, or the government's paying for you. Like, how the fuck are you gonna look after your human? But what the society is saying is, if you're a lawyer or a doctor, and I've got lawyers in my family and they're very high paid and they've got all the beautiful things and they've worked very hard to get where they're at. They've got that audacity to keep going through, as well as the intelligence. I get that. I failed school miserably, right? But I didn't even like pass my license the first time because I find tests extremely hard, being like dyslexic and yada yada. But you're saying that only the intelligent, the brainy, intelligent, university standard people deserve to be rich? And then the people that are from more more scarcity, or, they're good with their hands, like builders or tradesmen or electricians or hairdressers or beauty therapists, or people that work at supermarkets and service, like, or work behind a bar, should be getting paid shit. These people we're all of service.
Oh,
And time is time and money is money. And yeah, I do believe everything should be fair and equal, but at the same time, I can guarantee that you and I will do things that 98% of the world will not do.
right.
And
Which
that
means,
is why we bring in money.
does it need to be fair and equal? I know this is going to garner some
Mm.
hate, but I don't feel like everything's supposed to be fair and equal. I feel like everybody gets to create the life that they want to live. And this is speaking for me. If you can't see the video and you're listening on the podcast, I am a Black woman who lives in the South in America. So I am not saying, like, this is not someone who's saying, I'm Becky privileged that was rich for our life. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is that my
Mm-hmm.
parents told me that no one was more privileged than me. That's the way they brought me
Mm-hmm.
up. They told me that
Mm-hmm.
I could do whatever the hell I wanted to create. And they told me to go and do it. So I became the
Mm-hmm.
first Black valedictorian. I got a full academic scholarship to Tulane University. I was one of 2 people chosen to work at Deloitte and Touche. When there was only 2 people chosen, it was me that was one of them. I worked at
Mm-hmm.
Victoria's Secret. I never let anything, my color, whatever other people wanted to say, stop me, because my parents told me that doesn't stop you. You stop you. So you
Mm-hmm.
get to do it.
Exactly.
And so there are no, like, should everything be fair and equal? I wish the world was one of those worlds where we didn't
Yeah.
anything that, where everybody grew up and they
Mm,
all had the same spoons in their mouth. That's not the truth. But we also
yeah.
have the same ability. I have the same connection to God, universe, sugar daddy that you do. I have the same ability to create my reality that you do. And it's about me taking that and deciding that. And so whenever any of my clients come to me and they're like, well, I can't do this because, she got this because she looks this way. And I was like, no, that's another excuse. Never let that be an excuse. Because if I
Hmm.
decided that that was an excuse, I wouldn't have had all of the things that I've created over my life. And so, does it need to be fair and equal, or do we decide that, what, if this is the way society is going to be, I'm going to show you what we're going to do, and then decide that you
Hmm.
get to do it and create that shit because you can.
Exactly. Exactly. That is perfect. And what I mean by like reframing what I said as well is like it would be nice if everything was like that. But the thing is, people are sitting on their asses, drinking their wine, smoking their cigarettes. Nothing against that. I was like a big wine drinker and a smoker, but I'm not doing that. I'm showing up and talking to someone in America. I'm
Mhm.
here like going, what am I going to do to make a difference in the world today? I'm not sitting here bypassing my feelings. I'm doing the work. So when I say we're doing more than what 98% of the world is doing, I don't mean that from an asshole kind of perspective. I mean that by if you gave every single person in the world $1 million and said, here you go, it'd be one day and then there'd be this massive big it's polarity,
Right.
and I believe everyone has the same opportunity, and that's why this whole fair and equal thing, right? But oh, there's just so many nuances to it. And
So
and
much.
by the way, you do look like you do look like a Victoria's Secret model. You are very, very beautiful. You are stunning. But that's the thing, right? Like, and so you've got the intelligence as well. Like, so you've got the sponge brain intelligence as well as the psychic mediumship. But there's plenty of people sitting there being drug addicts who have got the intelligence. There's plenty of spiritual people crying poor,
Yes.
saying, hey, I don't charge for my psychic abilities. And I think we just kind of wrapped that up so beautifully. It doesn't matter your intelligence, it doesn't matter your psychic abilities. Everyone has an opportunity to. I was a hairdresser making $30,000 a year, and I said, fuck it. And now I'm making like way more than that. I can't even like, it's like, I don't know, 300%, 500% on what I was making. Like, I
Right.
can't even, it's multiple six figures yearly all the time,
Yeah. It's
and
because
five figure
you
months every
decided.
month.
Right? You decided to do what 99% of the world won't do. And that doesn't mean that they can't do it. It's just saying we're going to do the work, we're going to take the action, we're going to do the things that majority of the world isn't going to do. And so I think about people that I went to school with, and I think about my trajectory and where I went. And it's not that they didn't have the access or couldn't make the same choices. It's that they decided not to, and that's fine. There's no judgment for people, but don't judge someone because they decided to create something different. And I agree with you. There are going to be people that are going to say, no, I'd rather like sit on my ass and I'd rather do this, or I'd rather complain and sit in scarcity. And it's like, okay, like I filed for bankruptcy when I first started my business. I came from a multi six-figure career, right? A corporate career. And I thought I needed to bottom to the top story. So I had clients that were having $102,000 days, $100,000 months, doing all the things that I'm telling them to do. And I'm over here charging $900 a month for one-to-one with me. And I was driving Uber and Postmates because I had to make the ends meet. So I'm not saying this from this ivory tower, but I didn't quit. I did the work. I did the work that I needed to do to know that I got to be, supported but my gifts got to be supported, and I got to make a shit ton of money. And I decided that that's the way it got to be. And I did the things. I did the things. I moved. And so what you get to do if you're listening to this is say, if you don't believe your psychic gifts can be paid for, like ask whose voice is that in your head? Like who decided that? And are you ready to decide that it gets to be differently? Because only you can shift it, because only you can say, I'm going to be a part of that 1% of people that are going to do the hard work, that are going to take the hard actions and create something that's outside of what the norm looks like, right? Defy the odds. You're going to be like, I'm deciding that it gets to be different. So now I'm going to do the work to make it differently. I'm going to make the choices to do it differently. And I feel like that's what's important.
Choice.
Yeah.
Like, and I actually said to my husband, "Are you going to go start a business or not? Because I'm sick of waiting." And he was like, "Nah," because he's real chilled. And I was like, "I'm starting a business. Do you want me to buy you a truck? Do you want it? Let's move to the beach." I literally got real specific on what I wanted to. I shit you not, within 2 years we had a truck. We've moved to the beach. We're in our dream home right now. It's like a whole nother story. Um, we are closer than ever before because I chose that I'm not going to let my education or lack of, because I'm from a very chilled beach town and I didn't really do much schooling. And it's a bit of a party town, so it's a very transy type of thing in the summertime. And it's like I decided that I need to be spiritually rich in all ways, and I'm fucking sick of being poor. I'm so fucking sick of being poor. It is bullshit, and I'm not doing it any longer. And I took a stand for myself when nobody else even knew what was going on. I thought I was going crazy. I was like, nah, no more. No fucking more. Yeah.
Oh my God, this is so good.
Oh,
I
Christina,
love
it has been so good talking to you. It has been, and do you have any final words? And can you please tell us? I've already said that we can find you, and we'll put this in the show notes. That I am the aligned soul, Christina
yes.
Michelle in the house.
Yes.
So go find you. And is there anything else you want to share with us?
I want to reiterate just a little bit of what we said. Just there's no limits. Even if people told you you couldn't do this, or even if you were brought up to believe that you can't get paid for your spiritual gifts, or that you weren't smart enough or didn't graduate from college, so you can't be a business, have a business, blah blah blah. It doesn't matter. If your desire is in your heart to do something, that is your call to say yes. I love to say in the quantum soup, there's a version of you that has already done it. And now it's saying it's time for you to do it in this 3D world. And so if you put it in the GPS, let's say for me, I've been tapping into $10 million me. So I've tapped it in the GPS, $10 million Christine Michelle. It's in the GPS. I'm in the car and I'm driving towards that direction. If I know that that's happening regardless, I'm going to end up from, St. Petersburg, Florida to, I don't know, California, and I put it in the GPS. I'm going to get there if I drive west. That's it. And so I want you to say, my desire to do whatever you want to do, put it in the GPS, get in the car and start taking those actions towards that, and allow yourself, because that's when you're going to see the things that you get to shift that might be in the way of it. And you're also going to see what your next steps get to be, but you won't know what the next steps are, the next turn, the next right, the next charging station. I have a Tesla, like all of that. You won't know what to do until you get in the car. And so that's what I want you to do, like to remember that you get to decide that you are the 1% that's going to take the action, that's going to create the life, that's going to live the life of your dreams. And I want you to do it. And that's how you do it. Put it in the GPS and start driving.
And that is what we could have said at the very beginning, and that would have been that. But now that if you've made it to the end of this podcast, you are not only activated by two psychic mediums, you have not only been coached, but Christine just gave you, in a nutshell, what the fuck to do to make $10 million.
Done. We're done. That was amazing.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Christine. And guys, go check her out, and we'll catch you next time.